Watkins from Your Black World and the Black Business School. And let me go ahead and jump into the conversation. You guys know what I do. I'm a finance professor, and I love to analyze what's going on in financial markets and what's happening economically, particularly in my community. And one of the things I was asked about recently on our YouTube channel, on the blackfinancialchannel.com, is about companies like WeWork and Uber. WeWork and Uber are two startups that are very popular. Everybody's excited about them. They have really interesting business models, and they're making a lot of money. These companies seem to have they've had tremendous growth up until this point. People expect the growth to be very strong in the future, and you know they're going to make money. There's no question about that. Now, what you don't know about companies like Uber and WeWork, or you may not know, is that they are making lots of money, but they're also bleeding money. They're bleeding money like crazy. They're losing insane amounts of money. And a lot of people believe that this has led to tremendous what is called irrational exuberance in these stock prices. There are a lot of people who believe that the stock prices are way inflated, that these are not good investments, and these are not companies that you want to invest in. Now, WeWork, if I'm not mistaken, I don't believe WeWork is public yet. I think they're going to go public, and they're talking about IPOs, and they have a $47 billion valuation. A lot of people believe that valuation is just flat out wrong. Let me explain why very quickly. I don't have a lot of time. I got a meeting coming up, but there's an article in Business Insider that basically breaks down the fact that WeWork is literally losing $219,000 an hour every single day. They're losing $219,000 every hour of every day. So a lot of people feel this is crazy. You know, you can't invest this kind of money in a company that's losing money at that rate. Now, the supporters, the bulls on a company like WeWork, I believe they're making a very basic argument. They're making the argument that says, look, the way companies expand is similar to the way Amazon expanded, which is you go out and you get a bunch of market share, you go, borrow a ton of money, which you use to acquire a ton of customers, a ton of eyeballs, a ton of downloads, or whatever, and then you figure out how to become profitable later. So you pee on your tree, and then you figure out later how to grow flowers around that tree or whatever, right? So effectively, that's what WeWork is doing. That's what Uber is doing. That's what all the startups are doing. And I believe it all started with Amazon. They all watched Jeff Bezos go out and become, a multi-billionaire and create $1 trillion company. So they're all trying to do the same thing. The problem with that, though, is that if you analyze the stock prices, the stock price of Uber right now, and you look at the valuation, the market valuation of WeWork, the amount of growth they would have to sustain as a company, and the margins they would have to obtain as a company over, say, the next decade in order to justify that valuation are insane. What are the odds of another company becoming another Amazon? What are the odds of that? The odds are very, very slim. It's not easy to be Jeff Bezos, right? It's not. He's the richest man on earth. He's very, very smart. So I really would say that there's a lot to be said about the fact that a lot of people are overly cautious about these sorts of companies. Maybe you can make money, buying these shares if you find a bigger fool. If the market trend continues upward and the price gets higher and it becomes almost like a Ponzi scheme, and you sell, it's like musical chairs where you sell out before the correction occurs. Maybe that can work. But there's a lot to say that if we hit a deep recession, or if we hit some economic problems, you're going to see the stock prices plummet, and you'll also see WeWork maybe go out of business, because WeWork has an interesting business model where they take out these long-term leases and they rent out these spaces for very short periods of time. And some people wonder what's going to happen if the amount of rentals drops to a level where you can't afford to pay these long-term leases. Also, WeWork's founder, I forgot the guy's name. He's a weird-looking hippie type dude. Adam Newman. He's very, very strange. He's not a guy that I would pick to run a company based on the types of stories he tells. He talks about, he's just basically a hippie. He does a lot of weird hippie stuff. And not to say that that's not a good thing. I mean, Steve Jobs used to use drugs or whatever, but a lot of people wonder if he's the type of guy that can really lead that company into the kind of profitability that they need in order to even justify the stock price. Uber has had a lot of issues as well in terms of how they operate. Uber is growing, there's no question about it, but the amount of dominance and the amount of profitability they'd eventually have to sustain in order to justify their stock price is just ridiculously high, right? So in a way, it's almost like signing an NBA player to a $50 million a year contract. Even if he wins a championship, he might barely be worth the money, right? Even if you win a championship, just because you win a championship doesn't mean that that you made a profit as a basketball team. In fact, a lot of the teams that win championships, they lose money because they overinvest, they overspend to get the best players, right? So ultimately, some people believe that these companies have been over financed. I think that one thing Silicon Valley does wrong is they tend to give a ton of money, I mean billions of dollars, to these companies because they have a great story or whatever, and it's very racist. I know tons of black companies that are literally that can flip their money twice in a 6-month period, literally make 4 times more than what your original investment was. And these companies can't even get, $50,000 or $100,000 to get started. And then you hear about these little white kids coming out of Stanford or dropping out of school, getting like 10 million, 50 million, $100 million, to build these little startups. They haven't made a penny. So I would say at the end of the day, that this is actually one of the areas of racism that isn't discussed very much. It's a lack of access to capital. And I also think eventually you're going to see chickens come home to roost. I think you're going to see companies like WeWork and Uber hit some hard times because I think that they're really leveraging quite a bit. And the thing about that venture capital industry in Silicon Valley is that it's weird how they control all this money. They have all these deep analytics that they allegedly do, but they kind of get caught up in trends. They all like to kind of put tons of money behind some young charismatic CEO who talks a good game but hasn't actually done anything. And that's how you end up with companies like the Fire Festival. Anybody see that? Anybody see the documentary about the Fire Festival on Netflix? The company run by the guy who was about 24 years old, and he partnered up with Ja Rule, and they decided to do this giant Fire Festival event where the guy literally didn't have any of the stuff that he was promising, but he promised all these things that made people pay $10,000-$20,000 a ticket, and they couldn't deliver. And now the guy's in prison because his mouth was writing checks that his business could not actually cash. And so ultimately that's what happens. You get a lot, Elizabeth Holmes, that's another one. I can't remember what the name of the documentary is, but there's a lady named Elizabeth Holmes who started a company where she claimed to be able to, again, another college graduate, she claimed to be able to do all these blood tests with just 1 drop of blood, which wasn't possible. The scientists were like, this isn't even possible. But because she was charismatic and talked a good game, somehow she was able to raise, lots of money and got a $9 billion valuation of this company. And it turned out to all be very fraudulent and problematic. So, the problem with all the Silicon Valley stuff, Theranos, that was the name of the company. Yeah. The problem that we're seeing a lot of times is you're getting away from fundamental business models that have long-term sustainability, and you're moving toward this very strange thing that can only be referred to, as Alan Greenspan used to call it, irrational exuberance. It doesn't make any sense. So anyway, that's my thought. Go watch that Fyre. Fyre. I think that's what the documentary is called. Maybe that's not what it's called, but just look up Fire Festival, Fyre, and you can go watch the documentary on Netflix. And also HBO did a documentary on Elizabeth Holmes. Somebody typed the title in. I don't remember the names of these things. I just know I saw it. So anyway, I got to go, guys. Please hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you subscribe at theblackfinancialchannel.com. If you're on Facebook, you need to, don't just stay on Facebook and follow me, because Facebook, they love to ban black people, and they ban me every 30 days. I'm not kidding. And eventually they're going to ban me for good. I don't know why. They literally will take a post I shared in 2013 and say, this post violates our policies. I'm like, but I shared it 6 years ago, and it wasn't even something I said. I just shared an article. So they love to ban black people. They're very racist, very oppressive. They suppress free speech like crazy. It's ridiculous. So if you want to follow us and connect with us, we are building our own social media platform owned by us, for us, and it's called Black Enough. This is how you spell it. It's on my shirt. We're committed to it. We've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into developing our own social media platform. So we hope that you'll support us by going to join Black Enough. Eventually, we're going to shut down membership. You're only going to be able to get in if you're invited, because we don't want trolls and all kinds of crazy people in there. But if you are Black enough, go join us at Black Enough. This is how you spell it. And that's where I'm going to be doing a lot of my Facebook like posting, because Facebook, they do a lot of really sneaky things. Like what they'll do is another sneaky racist thing they do is they'll deboost your post, right? They don't tell you this. This is one of the Facebook insiders actually revealed this. They will take somebody who has like hundreds of thousands of followers. Like I have 250,000 people on my Financial Juneteenth page, which you guys are watching from right now, and they will actually minimize the number of people that get notifications when I go live. So for example, if I have 250, 300,000 people on my page, you would expect that, you know, if you notify even 10% of those, you would expect a lot more people coming in. But what they'll do is they'll notify literally 500 people out of 250,000. And those are little things that they do. So we figured out that if we get people onto our own platform, we can decide how we reach our people when we want to reach them. And we don't have to worry about what Facebook does or does not do. So anyway, I'm about to go, guys. Hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, subscribe button, all that stuff. A lot of you ask me all the time, how do I get started investing? Well, we have a sponsored by the Black Business School, which is our university for us, by us. Again, we're into building our own, right? We have 80,000 students in the Black Business School. We hope you'll join. We hope you'll let us educate your family. You can go to get a free training on how to buy your first share of stock. Go to blackmoney100.com. That's blackmoney100.com. Somebody type that in, please, so other people can see it. Blackmoney100.com is where you can actually go and learn to buy your first share of stock. So anyway, all right. So I'm out of here, guys. Take care. Have a good day, and I'll talk to you soon. Have a good day. Peace.